Welcome to Dungeons & Dragons and Dining and Dudes, a podcast where a group of friends get together and play D&D. Featuring an actual play and a homebrew campaign, we celebrate not only D&D, but everything that goes with it. Hosting, cooking, playful banter, few drinks, and much more. Thanks for joining us, and please visit us at dndanddnd.com for more information. The Queen has been murdered, and panic has taken Central. With Urza nowhere to be seen amongst the commotion, the group tries to bide themselves some time. Looking around, Sotheby Baxton tells them to get close. In an instant, he throws his hand towards the ground and emits a large cloud of darkness. Using it as a distraction, the group make their way outside the castle walls. The five of them try to decide what to do next. Curious about Sotheby's newfound talent, the group asks questions. He explains to them that being an investigator, he's had to learn many tricks and swears he has had nothing to do with the Queen's death. After some time laying low, the group ultimately decides to turn themselves in, feeling they have nothing to hide and wanting to learn more about the events and what happened to the Queen. Walking back into the kingdom, the group is quickly surrounded, and they offer up no resistance. Handing over their weapons, they ask to see Warren de Belmer, the leading knight in Centrum, and in charge of the Queen's personal guard. Belmer, sporting a large scar down his cheek, is older, yet still very capable. Grayish hair and green eyes command attention, and his large, imposing frame stands over the group as he begins to question them. Along with him and the Queen's political advisors, they reveal that a note was left on her body. A letter with no words, but featuring two sigils, one belonging to Minima's Merchant Haven House, a coin and scale, and the other to the Kingdom of Arborea, which sported a leaf and bow. As the group tell them their encounters with chaos, Warren pays little mind to that, instead thinking that the other two governing bodies of Statera are conspiring against them. He allows the group to go on one condition, that they come back in 1 week. He tasks them with going to Arborea first, to find out if the Elven nation has anything to do with the Queen's death. To make sure they do not flee, he lets them know that he'll be employing scouts of his own, from here to Whiteport to the port of Alu. Should they not come back within the allotted time, his scouts have full permission to take them out. Prior to leaving Centrum, the group rests for the night, doing what they can to grab supplies and get their wits about them. As each of them begin to sleep in their beds, they all experience a dream, seemingly connected to one another. In it, a vision of Urza looking at them. She smiles at Tyus and tells them that she is waiting for them. When they ask where, she remains silent. She turns and begins to walk away, and at this moment, Tyus notices where she is. The same location of the nightmare he experienced back in Transitus. Knowing this, the group postpones their trip to Whiteport and heads southeast, where the water overlooks the ocean, a spot some have said that the whirlpool known as the Great Devourer has been seen. Within 2 days, the group make their way to the location Urza appeared to them in their dream. As they work through a small forest, they come across an opening towards the edge of a cliff. It's there they see her, sitting cross-legged on a patch of grass. She turns and smiles at them. She tells them that chaos is coming, whether they try to stop her or not. Looking at Tyus, she tells him that with her, she can help him become more than he has ever thought possible. Rebuking any advances, Snake fires off a spell that hits Urza, or so they thought. She laughs as a mirror image dissipates. She sighs, disappointed, and takes a step back. "I suppose it couldn't hurt to try," she says. "If you won't see reason, perhaps you need a lesson in humility." She snaps her fingers, and in an instant, 2 bugbear chiefs appear out of nowhere. Knowing there is a gate, Tyus once again summons his gift and begins to approach and close the gate, as Sotheby charges forward with a flurry of punches and kicks. He and Tyrannus take out 1 bugbear, while Snake and Zamir take out the second from afar. Standing back and not interfering, Urza continues to smile, treating this small bout as a mild form of entertainment. As the gate closes, she pounces towards Tyus before Misty stepping away. Unable to make any sort of connection with his punches, Sotheby backs up to regain his composure. As the group forms together, Urza brings her fingertips and points them out towards the group. In an instant, a fireball, summoned and hurtling towards them, causes them to jump out of the way. A near hit, but effective nonetheless. Realizing she's been holding back on them, the group spreads out, and while Zamir and Snake work to bring down her mirrored images, Tyrannus and Sotheby and Tyus take turns dodging and swiping attacks from different directions. As the battle continues, Tyus finds an opening, one that could easily spell the end for Urza, but as his crystal sword comes down, she looks toward it, causing the blade to glance off an invisible shield. She steps back, wiping some sweat off her brow. She begins to laugh, telling Tyus that she's enjoyed this little sparring session, and within an instant, a large swath of darkness erupts, allowing her to vanish without a trace. Disappointed that she's escaped, the group manages to make their way back to Whiteport over the next several days. Finding their sailor companion, Baldric Fosterman, they employ his services to sail to the port of Alu, the major port for the continent of Arborea. Boarding his ship, the Java Delight, Baldric tells them it's a few days' journey and to get comfortable. As time passes, the seas agree with them, and the first full day of sailing is uneventful. The group decides to call it a night and prepare for another day. Overnight, Urza visits them again, each in their dreams, taunting them. Tyus about his diseased parents, Tyrannus about his faltering faith, Snake on his murder of Marcus, and Zamir on his life and how it lacks any sort of direction or purpose. Whether the dreams show truth or not, they all feel a subtle doubt crawl into their minds. Suddenly, a large shake is felt throughout the cabin. Baldric yells up from up top. "Oi, we're gonna need your help up here. Time to earn your ride." As they all get topside, another ship is seen trying to board them. As they shoot cannons and hooks to board, Baldric does his best to avoid, while the other crew members do what they can to mitigate incoming damage. It doesn't take much time before pirates begin boarding, as their leader of the crew tells them to take no prisoners. As a couple of pirate bosuns board, the first mate joins them in melee combat against Tyrannus, Tyus, and Sotheby. Snake and Zamir fire from a distance at the pirate's crow's nest, where a pirate mage is seen flinging spells at Baldric and the crew. One by one, pirates go down, and not before long, the pirate captain joins the fight. Outnumbered and outclassed, the captain is defeated and along with the crew are thrown overboard, as the ship is left afloat haplessly in the ocean, unmanned. As the events of the day begin to settle in their minds, Baldric lets them know that they should be at port tomorrow morning. The group decide to take in some food and help where they can as they patch up the ship, as well as tend to any wounds they or the crew received during the fight. Arriving in Alu, Baldric says he'll be there for a couple of days, tending to more repairs for the ship and to offload some goods from Whiteport. Getting back on land and shaking off their sea legs, the group realizes they are low on coin, and if time's allowed, they might want to look at the Adventurer's Board to help pay Baldric for ship repairs, as well as help put some food in their bellies. Seeing the board, they glance at several jobs that catch their attention, one dealing with an ettercap infestation, another talking about werebears, and finally one where an alchemist requires help obtaining some rare ingredients. The group decides to split up and acquire information about the jobs. Tyrannus and Zamir learn from a dwarf named Dunniolop that his nearby mine has been infested with ettercaps and spiders. They are looking for some adventurers to help eradicate this and allow the local mining crew to get back to work. Sotheby and Tyus go and walk to a couple who tend to a nearby farm outside the port. Oleg and Shira, the married couple who own the farm, explain to the two that they believe a werebear has been coming at night, slaughtering goats, cows, and sheep. They mention that they've asked for help before, but no one seems to believe them. Oleg mentions he was able to track down one of the werebears into an Arborean forest and marks it on the map for them. They want to try and prevent anyone else from being caught prey, or even worse, cursed by the werebear's bite. To learn more about these bears, the group travels back to the town and grabs some literature on werebears at the library. Browsing for information, they stumble across a different kind of book, one that talks about 3 heroes of yore: a smith, a ranger, and a thief. 3 heroes that were lost to history but still celebrated for their valor and goodness, and how these heroes brought peace and order to the world. Meanwhile, Snake goes to see the alchemist who goes by the name of Brody. Brody is a well-known alchemist and healer in Alu who has helped plenty of citizens who have come down with illnesses or curses. With a combination of magical prowess and education, he has helped many people with unknown and incurable ailments that seek his aid. This particular request is to help a little girl named Lily who has begun aging backwards, going from a spunky, bright 12-year-old to now a weakened 10-year-old girl whose very bones are beginning to crack and cause incredible pain. The fear is, as she begins to get younger, her body will become more withered and soon die. Brody tells Snake that he's already sent adventurers out in search of a unicorn, and he wants to double his efforts. He tells him that he needs the horn of a unicorn, one of the most sacred ingredients in alchemy, and has been said to cure many different curses and diseases. Meeting back at the tavern known as Tea Leaves Upon Pondwater, the group talks about the different jobs. While Tyrannus has strong objections to taking the horn of a unicorn, they at least agree to see if they can find it, and then decide how to proceed. If anything, they should try and stop the other crew that's already looking for it. Sotheby lets the group know that while they are out earning coin, he's going to try and gather information regarding Arborea, and whether or not they had anything to do with the Queen's assassination. Resting up and gathering supplies, the group heads into the Arborean forest. During their travels, they find signs of other animals killed in the forest, which ultimately leads them to the other party. Realizing that this forest is sacred to the people of Arborea, they ascertain that this other party means not only to take the unicorn's horn, but to kill it outright, knowing the body and blood of a unicorn would fetch an incredible bounty. Proving to be a little effort, the other party is eliminated, allowing the group to continue deeper into the forest, where the different trees start to sport magnificent colors of purple and blue. Soon, they come across the defender of the forest. Bowing, the group sees the unicorn, which begins to speak to them telepathically. Telling it of Lily's condition, the unicorn agrees to help as long as they can bring the girl to the forest. The group agrees, letting Lily and her parents know to come quickly, and avoiding Brody for the time being. Approaching the unicorn, Lily touches its horn and is healed. Crying and thankful, her parents reward them with some gold. They thank them and head to Brody's place to confront him about misleading them and wanting the senseless death of a sacred creature. Smashing the door down, Tyrannus leads the charge, demanding to know why he wanted the creature dead. Undeterred, Brody tells him that one unicorn could save countless lives and would allow his name to grow all across Arborea. Feeling he's in it for fame and fame alone, the group expose Brody, causing the town to turn their backs on him for trying to desecrate a unicorn and the forest itself. Angered and shamed, Brody tells the group that he'll have his revenge. Moving on to the other jobs, the four of them investigate the mines, which are indeed overrun with a couple of ettercaps, giant spiders, and swarms of insects. Allowing the full force of his sorcery, Snake taps into his fire spells and torches the lot of them, while Zamir, Tyus, and Tyrannus follow up making quick work and allowing Dunny and his mining company to get back to work. Earning some more money, they spend the night drinking and talking to folks and learning from the mayor of Alu that a royal advisor to the king and queen will be visiting the city of Vander in a couple of days. The next day, they travel to the location that Olag told them the werebearers were situated. Approaching an abandoned cabin seemingly in the middle of nowhere, the group waits until nightfall. As night approaches, they see both Olag and Shira go into the cabin. As the group approaches, the couple smile at them and thank them for coming and believing in them. As they do, they look at each other and smile, showing some very large fangs. They look out to the group and begin to shapeshift into large werebears. As the fight ensues, they use the information they learned at the library to fire magical attacks towards both bears. Though victorious, both Zamir and Tyrannus are bitten during the fight, causing them to be cursed with lycanthropy. Traveling back to their homestead, the group pour through Olag and Shira's belongings, looking for anything that might help the two. They come across some correspondence from someone known as Terry, who seems to have been friends with the two of them. In these letters, he talks about the curse and how it can be controlled. Choosing to embrace the curse will allow someone to control it, while fighting against it causes the body to fight against itself. After talking with each other, Zamir and Tyrannus agree to embrace it, not as a curse, but as a gift. Having done all they could in Alu, they head for the city of Vander. While traveling, they see a monument to a city of Myalun that reads, "For those we failed to never let the injustices of any people or race go unnoticed. or allow inaction be our resolve. May those who never saw the better life we strive for rest in peace. The monument itself is in need of repairs, cluttered with weeds and weathered with cracks by the elements. Wanting to rest, the group decides to make camp outside the abandoned city, which has been taken over by nature. As they rest for the night, Tyrannus hears a cry for help. Not wanting to disturb the others, he makes his way towards the old abandoned city. The closer he gets, the louder the wails become. Before marching any further, he decides to wake up the other three, imploring them to follow. All four marching towards Myaloon now. They come across a couple of fresh corpses. Travelers who, no doubt, were killed for their curiosity, it would seem. Upon inspection of the bodies, a banshee attacks the group, wailing and shrieking. Thankfully being able to withstand a terrific scream, the four of them are able to subdue the banshee, granting it a peaceful death. Prior to fully expiring, the group learns that the banshee is actually the previous owner of the manor in which she haunts. Recently sent back to Statera by Chaos, they come upon tombstones which sit outside of the estate and have the names of Sarah and Rydoff Etheria. Inspecting the tombs further, they open up a passage into a crypt that features a statue with a very real-looking skeleton lord. Carefully walking into the crypt, the group sees the remains of Sarah and Rydoff and a chest. Beyond the crypts, they see three floating items: a staff, a sword, and a dagger. Reading an inscription on the crypt, it says, "To my fellow adventurers, if you found this place, I congratulate you. Our wish was to be buried alongside the memory of Myaloon. We brought to our crypts some of our most cherished belongings. As powerful as they may be, they could not hold back the atrocities that begat this city. Avarice, greed, and hate caused Myaloon to fall. We give to whomever finds us one of these fine weapons, to help you right the wrongs of this world, and we know when we are long in the ground it will still need heroes. Please, only take one though, as the next time our crypt is discovered, we wish to bestow yet another gift. Do not let greed inhabit your heart." Heeding the words wisely, the group decides to take only one item, a sword known as Flame Tongue. Tyrannus, being the one who led them there to the crypt, graciously accepts. Arriving at the city of Vandor, which is only second to the capital of Arborea itself, it features vast forests, farmland, and beautiful countryside. Positioned between Alu and the capital, it sees its fair share of travelers and longtime residents. Being close to the Forest of Time means Vandor also hosts many woodland tribes that come into the city from time to trade. Unlike Alu, which had a lot of hustle and bustle, Vandor feels more like a city that allows one to breathe and takes things at a slightly slower pace. Feeling the crisp morning air greet them, the group decides to find the royal ambassador, whose name is Siren Mixla. After asking a few people, they learn that Siren arrived yesterday and could be found at the main estate in the center of the city. Sporting a special seal that was given to them by the mayor of Alu, they show it to Siren, who immediately accepts the seal in good faith, telling them that he and the mayor are old friends, and with that seal comes his endorsement. Spending some time talking to Siren, he is saddened to learn about the queen's death and vehemently denies any wrongdoing by Arborea. He grabs a parchment, scribbles some words, and seals it with his royal seal. He tells them to hurry to the capital and take this parchment to the royal court. It will grant an audience with the king and queen and to explain their story to them. He will meet them there after his work in Vandor is completed, but not to wait. Taking Siren's words seriously, the group head out for the capital with little delay, crossing the river and heading through the Forest of Time. As they get closer to the capital, they all notice something is wrong. Smoke can be seen in the distance, though slightly obscured as they travel through the forest. As they get closer and closer, the forest begins to open up to the capital city of Arborea. Normally a beautiful city that shows the great strength of Arborea, now lay under siege by chaotic monsters. Outside the capital walls are dozens or so skirmishes as beasts pull out from a central gate that is easily seeable. Looking closer at the gate, they see a small pack of elven warriors assisting what looks to be a couple of mages trying to close the gate. Bodies litter the field, trying to defend them as the group rushes in to help close the gate and fend off the opposing horde. As they approach, bugbearers, dragon wormlings, troll, and ogre overtake the field, separating the crew from the gate. In order to close it, Tyrannus and Demir manage to distract a few of the monsters while Snake and Sotheby assist. Tyus works with the other mages to help close the gate, already fully open and larger than he's ever seen before. A coordinated effort is required to shield the gate closers from the onslaught of attacks. Though outnumbered at first, a group of adventurers lend their aid as a nearby horn signals for incoming support. Slowly, numbers on both sides begin to dwindle, and as one of the mage closes the gate with Tyus' help, an ogre smashes down, taking the mage's life. Enraged, Tyus thrusts forward, crystal sword in hand, stabbing the ogre directly in the chest, while Tyrannus uses his newly acquired flame tongue to sear the troll and prevent any regenerative abilities from occurring. As the five of them begin to take over the battle, the gate closes, and they take a moment to breathe. Exhausted and wounded, they hear a very recognizable laugh behind them. As they turn, they see Urza descending from the air. Determined to end them once and for all, another battle begins. Learning from before, the group begins to move as one, as Amir and Snake pepper her with attacks, breaking the mirrored images and shield, while Tyus, Tyrannus, and Sotheby working close. Summoning every ounce of strength they have, the group breaks through, and Tyus ends the battle with a final strike. As the blade makes purchase, Urza screams and erupts in flame, much like the other Agent of Chaos. This time, however, a ruby amulet can be seen in a pile of ash. The amulet glimmers with a faint red glow. Tyus grabs it, and as he turns towards the setting sun, it almost as if something is contained within the amulet. As other skirmishes throughout the battlefield begin to end, more reinforcements from the capital can be seen entering the field, providing aid where necessary. Battered and bruised, our five adventurers head towards the capital, needing a good drink, and more importantly, an audience with the king and queen. After recovery and making their way to the royal center, they are given an audience with the king and queen after producing the parchment from Siren. Talking with the king and queen, they tell the group that they had knowledge about chaos magic and portals and had been training their own people who were blessed with the gift. When they found out about the queen's assassination, they had their own spies start to investigate. Unfortunately, with only a short amount of time to prepare, they were caught off guard. They thank the group for closing the portal and give them a sealed letter to hand to Warren explaining what they know and that they had nothing to do with the assassination. That every continent should be prepared. Continuing the conversation, the king and queen say that they do not know the specifics of Urza, but can sense the god of chaos's machinations at work. They bid them to make haste to Centrum to prevent any further hostilities, as they would only allow the seeds of chaos to grow quicker. Asking about the amulet, an advisor on artifacts doesn't actually know what it is, but mentioned that it's over 1,000 years old and feels like a portal to another world. Knowing this, they keep the amulet safe with them, not letting it out of their sight. Back in the tavern known as the Leafy Tankard, the group, finally having a chance to relax, take opportunity to do so. As they use this moment as a celebratory but somber time, a person walks up to Snake and delivers him a note. Looking at the note, Snake immediately looks around the tavern. The note he was given is actually a wanted poster with his own picture from Minima. On the back of the poster, words are written. "You can't run forever. I have eyes and ears everywhere. Come see me if you wish to end this little game of cat and mouse." At the bottom of the note, it is signed simply with 2 letters, VL. A long journey back to Centrum, the five head back to Alu and greet Baldric. Shipping off back to Whiteport, they make their way to Centrum and see Warren. Though knowing more about his past, Tyus maintains his composure, handing him the king and queen's letter. Somewhat satisfied that Arboreas had nothing to do with the assassination, he tells them that he's received information, letting them know that their own scouts have gotten word of more larger creatures on the outskirts of the kingdom, some south near the towns of Swiftport and the Oasis, as well as far as west in Minima and to the north. Hearing about Swiftport, Sotheby announces to the group that he'll have to go, as he has to check on his hometown and his family. He'll tell the group that he'll find a way to communicate with them, and that this won't be goodbye for good. Knowing there are more portals to close, and Snake's issues in Minima, the group decide to head west, to the entertainment city known as Cowlor. That concludes Chapter 2, Sessions 9 through 14. Tune in to the next episode, which will feature Chapter 3, Stemming the Tide, our last recap episode. As always, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.